What's up, everybody? The time has finally come to talk about The Flash. No, not that Flash. No, we're talking about The Flash, the latest DC movie to come out of Warner Brothers Discovery, directed by Andy Muschietti, and of course starring the infamous Ezra Miller at this point, and a lot of hype. 10 years in the making and all that good stuff. Is it worth it? Do you even have to go out and see this movie at all? So is this movie worth all the damn hype and all the hullabaloo and talking about, or is this gonna be another one of them flash in the pan movies? See? Flash in the pan? Well, I'm gonna at least give you my thoughts about it all right now.
No matter what we do, we're not gonna be able to fix this. No! Nobody die!
Alright, I'm gonna start off by saying this right off the bat here. I'm not a major fan of Ezra Miller, mainly because of all the stuff that they have been finding themselves involved in the last couple of years. Ever since I saw that video from Iceland of them choking out this female, and then just seeing all the stuff that they've been going through and involved in, I don't condone any of that stuff. Now, I also will say this. I support them with their recovery and getting the help that they need and that they deserve, because mental health is a serious thing and everyone goes through differences when it comes to mental health issues and all that. It's dangerous, especially when you don't have the proper support. That being said, I don't condone the actions or non-actions of Warner Brothers and all the stuff that they've done to try to sweep this under the rug and not even address it. The whole thing has been quite a journey. It's been like a lot of hullabaloo, a big circus and all that, and it's just mind-blowing to me how it's gotten to this point. Now, with all that out of the way, I went into the movie knowing how I felt like this, but pushing that aside and just watching the movie for the movie in itself. And I gotta tell you, it's a pretty damn good movie. I totally understand 1000% now why Warner Brothers Discovery, everyone involved, people who've seen the movie way early, even before CinemaCon several months ago, how they were very bullish on this movie, how they were singing the praises of this movie. Some of them were a little bit over the top with their kind of feedback, saying that this is the best superhero movie that they've ever seen, this is the best comic movie ever made and all that. I wouldn't go that far, but I can totally understand why, especially the Warner Brothers folks, why they love this movie so much, because just like how Warner Brothers is celebrating their 100 years in the industry, this movie, The Flash, directed by Andy Muschietti, is a celebration of DC Comics representation under the Warner Brothers umbrella, throughout all time. Now, of course, I'm not going to go into any spoilers here and explain further what I mean by all of that, but take that as you will, and then when you watch the movie, let me know in the comments if you agree with that. This film had everything, and it was enjoyable and entertaining from the beginning up until the very ending when you're watching the post-credit scene. It had humor, it had emotion, it had a lot of action. Was it a whole bunch of fanfare, nostalgia, and fan service? Abso-fucking-lutely. But with all that, I ate it all up. I was like, give it to me. I love it. I ate it up. I put it in. I digested it, and I was satisfied. This movie satisfied me. It was just so much fun. For a lot of you DC fans out there, especially Flash fans out there, you will be happy that you are finally getting a Flash movie, a movie that really dives into more of the personality and more of like what makes the Flash, especially this version of the Flash. This is very different from your CW version of the Flash, and I know a lot of people out there I loved it too for the first 3 seasons until it started going crazy all over the place. This Flash is different. This Flash is obviously a Flash that's been through a lot. He's a little obnoxious at times, a little bit eccentric, a little bit awkward, and you definitely get a whole lot of that. More so now that he feels a little bit more comfortable with the people that he works with and what he's known as. But then, as you've seen in the trailer, when he meets his alternate self, get ready for even more obnoxiousness, more craziness, because the difference here is that you are dealing with a Flash that is seasoned, that is a veteran, that has gone through so much, bumping into an alternate version of themselves that has not done all that. So you could understand why there will be a lot of differences there and a lot of hijinks, if I'm to be completely honest with you. For those of you who are not familiar with what the Flash movie is all about, worlds collide when the Flash uses his superpowers to travel back in time to change the events of the past. However, his attempt to save his family inadvertently alters the future. He becomes trapped in a reality in which General Zod has returned, threatening annihilation. With no other superheroes to turn to, the Flash looks to coax a very different Batman out of retirement and rescue an imprisoned Kryptonian, albeit not the one he's looking for. So with all that being said, the story itself was very well done. It was a perfect story for this type of personality, for this type of character too. And what I really loved about it is that they gave proper time for you to get yourself invested in the character of the Flash and Barry Allen. You feel for him. You feel for what they're going through, especially, the events that happened with his family. Now, what's really interesting here is that instead of Billy Crudup playing his dad, because Billy Crudup did play his dad in Justice League, they got Ron Livingston instead. But still, that didn't really change a lot of things. If you forgot a lot about what happened in Justice League, then this is something that you will easily gloss over. For me, I was just like, wait a minute, this is not the same dad. Whatever. The chemistry was still there. The emotional impact was still there when they were talking and when they're dealing with what they have to deal with. But the way that they really were able to weave in Michael Keaton's Batman, it was just really, really smart and really brilliant. And for all of you fans of the 89 Batman, you are definitely going to love this movie. They took the time, and attention is definitely in the details here, where they recreated this world that we grew up watching back when we first saw Tim Burton's Batman in 1989. The mansion, the kitchen, the Batcave, everything will look so familiar to you that you will definitely feel like you're back home in what you love. And Michael Keaton was so good in this movie. He was just great. It was nice to see him in the cowl again. And it's nice that they played up on the age as well, because he is much older, obviously, but they played on that so well. And the chemistry he had with Ezra and Barry Allen and all that, like everything really, really worked out. But Michael Keaton aside, I also have to say Ben Affleck looked great. It was so nice to see Ben Affleck as Batman again, in the role of Bruce Wayne there. He looked like he was having a lot of fun. And that's the thing. It looked like a lot of people were having fun. I know Ben Affleck has had his, troubles playing the Batman role, and this was like a lifelong dream of his, and he was able to do it. And then there were some issues and the controversies around it and all that. I'll say this. It's a shame that we couldn't get to see Ben Affleck play Batman more. I think it would have been a treat to see that, especially the way that he plays a more grizzled version of the Batman. A lot of comparisons to like the Frank Miller type of Batman. I enjoy his performance and his, portrayal of the Batman. It's a shame we can't see more of that. Sasha Kaya was actually really good as well. I'll be remiss if I didn't mention her performance, because she was really, really good being Supergirl here, being the lone Kryptonian. I thought her time on the screen was very well done. Now, it's hard to talk about this movie without spoiling anything. So when it comes to performances, that's what I'm going to leave all of you with right now. Everyone was top notch. Everyone did a great job. The last thing I'll say about Ezra Miller, again, controversies aside, one has to acknowledge talent when they see it, and they are an amazing talent. Their acting is full on display here. The way that they were able to act with themselves, technically, you're dealing with two Barry Allens here, I thought was done very smoothly, very intelligently. I love the way they were able to accomplish that, because the whole clone talking to your alternate self, we've seen it done multiple times in so many different things, and most of the time it seems very hokey. This tends to avoid that, and it becomes something that's very believable and enjoyable to watch. And it was a treat to see. I have to say, credit where credit's due. Ezra Miller is a fine actor, and they did an amazing job in this movie for their own rendition of The Flash. Story-wise, again, hard to not spoil anything. I loved how everything was planned out, and I loved how every act played out. Now, when it comes to impact, I will say this. The first 2 acts were extremely strong. They really focused on the emotions and a lot of the inner workings and the personalities and everything. Act 3, the final act, did suffer a little bit from your very typical comic book movie type of stuff, where I felt like more attention was spent on effects and fantastical things happening. There was definitely a very major moment that I felt was nothing but done for the fans. And again, I can't spoil anything. I'm sure a lot of you are gonna flip out and love it, but I felt a lot of that was way over the top. Probably not as necessary, but still very much enjoyable. And it didn't really take away from the full enjoyment of the entire movie. You're gonna hear a lot of this though. You're gonna hear a lot of people say that this was a very Batman-centric movie. And what I will say is that there were moments where it definitely felt that way. But if you look at the overall story from Act 1 through the end of Act 3, this is a Barry Allen Flash story. He just happens to have, co-stars that happen to be Michael Keaton's Batman, Sasha Calle's Supergirl. So overall, you Flash fans, you Barry Allen fans who are looking for a nice solo movie, finally a solo movie for this character that you love so much, I'm pretty sure you all will be very satisfied. Some of the CG during certain scenes are really questionable, and there's this one part in the very early beginning of the movie in Act 1. I felt like Andy Muschietti kind of did their own rendition of what a James Gunn opening is, especially to like Guardians of the Galaxy or Suicide Squad. I felt like he did his own version of that style of opening, and it was also kind of an homage to Quicksilver from X-Men, from the more recent X-Men movies. If you've seen those movies and you're familiar with those, Quicksilver scenes, then you'll know exactly what I'm referring to. But they did something very similar here, and a lot of the CG during this whole entire montage moment was very, very questionable. And I think out of the entire movie, that was when I was like, oof, that CG looks pretty rough. Andy Muschietti has a great eye and talent for movies like this. I was a huge fan of his ever since I saw it, chapters 1 and 2. So I was excited to see what he's going to do in the superhero realm. And after seeing this movie, I definitely want to see him do something else that is hopefully without a lot of controversy and a lot of the issues that he had to go through for this movie. I know he's rumored to be directing Batman Brave and the Bold. If that is true, I would be all down to see that happen, because he deserves another shot at this. And I think he has a talent for working with ensemble cast and this type of genre. Now, the number one question, I'm sure, at the end of it all, especially when the movie ends and the post-credit scenes and all that stuff, does this movie really matter anymore? And how does this play into the new James Gunn, Peter Safran era? I will say this without spoiling anything. They found a way to tie it in and make this a perfect transition movie into that new era of DC that we're going into. In the comic books, this type of storyline that everyone was expecting this to be like a Flashpoint storyline. In the comic books, they dealt with the multiverse. Flashpoint was used to do a major reset on all the stories within the DC universe. This movie is a Flashpoint in its own right, not exactly the way it worked in the comic books, but the way it's needed to work with this current regime and the transition from the old Zack Snyder regime, that Zack Snyder universe that they're trying to get out of. Oh, but wait a minute. We have Blue Beetle coming out and we have Aquaman coming out this year. So how could this be that transition? Trust me when I say this, they explain things perfectly well. If you really pay attention and you think about it, it makes perfect sense, and why this could be that transition that is needed for what they need to accomplish right now. At the end of the day, I really enjoy this movie. It's well worth watching, especially if you're a huge comic book movie fan, if you're a major DC fan, if you're a major Flash fan, and of course, for nostalgia's sakes, if you were a huge fan of the 89 Batman, definitely go out and watch this movie. But if you're a huge fan of DC representation under the Warner Brothers umbrella, definitely see this movie. And I can't say why, but you'll understand when you see it, trust me. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. I liked it. I will definitely go out and watch this movie again. I am very, very interested and curious as to how all of you are going to react to this movie. So definitely let me know in the comments if this is a movie that you're looking forward to watching in the theaters when it comes out this week. If you are watching this and you already seen it, let me know your thoughts in the comments below as well. But please, no spoilers for anyone. There'll be a separate video I'll post on the channel talking full spoilers and going over the major things that really flipped me out and I reacted strongly to. So look out for that video and we could talk spoilers there. A perfect way to find out when that video is posted, of course, is if you are subscribed. So if you like what you saw and you want to see more and you're brand new to all this, make sure hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell to get notified every time a new video is posted. If you want Low-Key Geek on the go, check out the Low-Key Geek podcast channel on your podcast platform of choice, where you could find audio versions of what we do here, but most importantly, the MovieTime movie review podcast I do with my buddy Blake, and the Talking Talk pop culture news of the moment podcast, a little more unconventional podcast with snippets and all that. You can find all of those things there for your downloading and listening pleasure. Last but not least, if you're in a position to further help support the channel and help the channel grow, do check out the affiliates that we have listed in the description of this video. Father's Day is this weekend. Graduations are happening all over the place. You could find nice gifts for your loved ones or for yourself. Nothing wrong with treating yourself there. And by participating, you will be helping support this channel at no additional cost to you. And for all of that support, I truly thank you. All right, y'all, I'm going to head on out of here. Thank you so much once again. I hope you have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your week. And until next time, stay cool, stay classy, stay safe. Catch you all in the next one. All right, peace out, y'all.